I just wanted to go on the mic. This is probably the first time you're gonna see me, but I just want to talk about something really quick. Or it's probably not gonna be really quick, but politics is dead, and we killed it. I'm just gonna be honest, or at least I what hospitality and politics. Everything now, it's you're for me or against me. You're either this or that. You're with us or you're not with us, and it's solely our fault. I don't know how it is for my viewers across the globe. Nah, I don't know, the UK or Canada, if they're still functioning. Um, but U.S. politics has just completely dissolved into madness, and I think it's because of a few things. I think it really started during the 2016 election. If I wasn't really around for the 2016 election. I wasn't around for the 2012 or 2008 election. This might shock you, but I'm 13 and I was born in 2011. That might be like a, I don't know, like a shock for some of my older viewers, but yeah. Um, I wasn't around during the 2012 or 2008 election, but I really noticed that just derangement in politics, especially with like Donald Trump, just kind of picked up during the 2016 election because everybody was freaking out. They're like, "Oh my God, Donald Trump, he's gonna be president," and all of this, everybody was like panicking and stuff. But it turns out it just wasn't that bad. Everything that the left said was gonna happen, everything the right said was gonna happen. It didn't really come out to be true. It was honestly kind of up to interpretation because it was just Donald Trump did do a lot of things. Maybe it was good, maybe it was bad. I wasn't I wasn't really there, but it just seemed like they were exaggerating and like just extremifying, if that's a word, extremifying everything. I don't know if you guys heard that, but my Chromebook's gonna die soon or whatever I'm recording this on. Um, but it just seemed like everybody was exaggerating everything, and people were just just going insane. And then the 2020 election, you just noticed more of that derangement, um, with Joe Biden and Donald Trump. It just everybody was freaking out. The left was freaking out. The right was freaking out, and especially with the 2024 election. And now politics today. Everybody's like hate each other. Nobody can get along. And I think it definitely started with the 2016 election. I'm actually not really sure why it happened and why we dissolved into this, but I think the last I don't know, maybe the last like 10 years or like the last decade, it's just been complete. It's just been a complete clown show. Politics isn't taken seriously, and it isn't even like it it it's not even something that you can I don't know, get behind, or it's not even for like people who actually care about it. It's just this whole clown show, and I don't know. It just seems like there's no hospitality. There's no, okay, let's sit down, let's discuss why you think that, because everybody thinks a certain way because of a certain reason. It's just nobody can get along, and nobody can talk to one another, and that's why such a big difference, and that's why there's such a big gap between the Republicans and the Democrats, because they can't talk to one another. I noticed that especially the Democrats aren't very good at communicating. Like they aren't very good at debating, and they aren't very good at communicating. So all of their thoughts, they just keep it in a bubble, and if any, or kind of like an ecosystem or an echo chamber. I noticed that Democrats are far more likely to form echo chambers because they're less likely to talk to other people about about what they think and what their lifestyle is like, or why they think, I don't know, Hillary Clinton's gonna would be a good president, or why Joe Biden would be a good president. They don't talk about that, and I think the Republicans, they're very they can like talk to one another, and they like express, but I think they're very closed minded. They think one way, so they think one way and they don't differentiate often. So they'll talk to you, but sometimes they just won't listen. So That's really the two reasons, or the two things that both parties are kind of being held back from. They just can't talk to one another, and it's really unfortunate because because we need to communicate in politics, because we need to express opinions. Otherwise, it just turns into the clown show, and it just turns into, okay, who is there more Republicans or Democrats? Because nobody's being changed. Nobody's like nobody's like talking, so it's just like I don't know, is this side, like, does this side have more voters, or this it there's it what it does is it creates bad presidencies and bad governors and bad people altogether in politics, because nobody's talking and nobody's like discussing who do we actually want to vote for, who's better. No, everybody just says, "Oh, vote blue, vote red," but nobody says who would be a better candidate, who would actually be a better president. They just said, "Oh, this guy, he's a Republican. That means he's not evil, so I'll just vote for him." Or he's a like I don't know, she's a Democrat, and that means she's not like a fascist, so I'll vote for her. And nothing really gets done. And like this wasn't like apparent like just like a decade ago or like years ago. I like it was more civil, I think. Maybe like some people can talk for me, but like some people who actually experienced this can talk for me, but I feel like politics was more civil like back in like the 1990s or 1980s, because people could actually they could talk to one another, and they weren't so radical as they are now. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people were just as radical like back in the 1990s, and they're like just as radical today. But if they are, we've just gotten so far off track. We've completely lost the plot. Politics is just I think even if politics was bad in the 1990s, it's just completely off the hook now. And it's just insane, you know. I but I one thing I do want to say is I want to talk about why Donald Trump won the 2016 and 2024 election. One, Donald Trump won the 2016 election because Hillary Clinton just wasn't a very good candidate. I think Donald Trump isn't really, I wouldn't say the best president, but just not a lot of people would vote for him unless there was somebody who was worse. And in both cases, there were people who were worse. Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, they were just objectively worse than Donald Trump. Donald Trump was just a better candidate for some people. Joe Biden was the Joe Biden was a better candidate, or I don't know, because Joe Biden, it's debatable if he was a better candidate, and even Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton, it was debatable. But it's probably because I'm pretty sure there's a YouTube account based if true. He said I really like how he said it. He said that America, or just like people in general, no offense to women, but they just aren't very they aren't very intimidated by a woman president. Like all these bad people like Putin and Kim Jong Un, they just wouldn't be intimidated by a female president, and that's why everybody's like, I let's just vote for the guy. That's why Donald Trump got beat when he was running against a guy, because he he was just like he just had better, not necessarily better policies, but you know he was a guy, so he had that intimidation, and he just people thought maybe I just don't want to vote for Donald Trump. Maybe I want to vote for him instead, even if nothing gets done, because he might make things worse. So and it's also because like if one political party fails, people are more inclined to be like, oh, this political party fails. Maybe I don't know. The Democrats failed. Maybe the Republicans have a good chance of flipping things off its grip, making America great again. Uh, so I wanted to talk about that, but let's get back on the course of why it's just very toxic in today's world, and that's mainly because people are very radicalized nowadays with the internet. The internet has made people incredibly radicalized and single thinking, and it's mainly because of these apps on the internet and these places like Reddit. Reddit is one of the most notorious echo chambers because it's gatherings for people specifically like you who have your same interests, and it's literally a social credit system with the points, with the karma. So if I don't know if you're on r/Democrats and you're like, hey, I'm a Republican. Why do you guys think this way? You're gonna get downvoted, and you're most likely gonna get banned for violating hate speech, as Reddit calls it, which is literally impossible to define and literally leads to fascism. Like that's like 1984 thought crime. I was looking at my book. Actually, I have a copy of 1984. It's pretty good so far, but that is literally like thought crime. Like, oh, you can't do hate speech. Like, and like hate speech is it's such wide of a variety. You can justify putting anybody in jail for hate speech. I don't know. You said the F slur. Oh, hate speech. Oh, you disagreed with me. That's hate speech. It's just it. That's why free speech is so important because you can justify anything as hate speech. Uh, and I Twitter is also a pretty big echo chamber. It's more right wing. Reddit is more of a left wing echo chamber. Twitter is more of a right wing echo chamber. They're both terrible. I've spent my fair share of time scrolling Twitter, and it's just miserable, man. There's racism, homophobia, transphobia. It's just everything. And then let I've spent my fair share of time scrolling Reddit, and it's the exact same. Although it is better because I subscribe to subreddits that aren't that aren't political. Like a good subreddit is r/loser city. That's a pretty funny one. I like that. I don't really subscribe to political subreddits because I don't think that political arguments on the internet really go anywhere. I mean, irony check. I'm talking about politics on the internet, but I don't really think it goes anywhere on the internet. Um, but it one of the reasons that politics is so radical nowadays is because people are being radicalized on the internet. They're being radicalized on the internet, and it they go so far down that they just tune out anything else, and they nobody says anything, or nobody says anything to them, and when they do, they just like shove it off like, oh, or it's just some bigot or some fascist or whatever. Um, so that's another really big reason. Also, it's just because there's a lot of issues play. I think there's a lot of issues plaguing our society nowadays that are very nuanced, and I feel like a lot of people just aren't ready to have them, and a lot of people just aren't smart enough to have them. Like with the case of abortion, I've been, I'm 13, and I've been trying to, I like find like why I've been trying to build my stance on it for the past year now. It's a very nuanced topic, and I'm going to be very I'm I'm trying to be as like I don't know, careful as I can because I really want to like make sure that everybody gets like the best, or everybody like or society is the best they are. And I don't know, is banning abortions gonna make society better? Is not my my personal stance. It's kind of a mixture of both, and that actually segues into another reason why politics is so radical nowadays. Is because it's this or that. It's Republican or Democrat. You're for us or against us. Like with the cases of abortion, I'm not pro life or pro choice. I'm on both. I'm a mixture of both, and that's what I'm saying. Why can't we have both? Why can't like one side and another side? Why can't two ideas mix together? That's the thing. And politics is so that they make you think you have to do this, you have to choose this, you have to be in this box, you have to be a Republican, you have to be a Democrat. That's what's happening. Me personally, I'm kind of looking into like the effects of abolishing like Republicans and Democrats, because me personally, I don't like the political parties. I don't like being put into one party or being put into another party, being categorized. It's not for me. I wouldn't claim myself to be Republican or Democrat, though I share a lot of I would say conservative values, I wouldn't say that I'm a Republican because I'm not categorized. I'm not a part of your team. I'm a human being and I have my own thoughts. I'm not cattle for you to herd me around. And that's the thing. People are being put into groups and people are having to choose. They're having to choose to be left wing or right wing, and you have to say all of these things that everybody's saying. You can't speak out or you're not a part of us. You can't you can't have, I don't know, conflicting values, and you can't have like a value that isn't what we've already predetermined. You have to do this, you have to be that. It's just that's what's radicalizing people is you're making them choose. And likely if they are a Democrat they'll be pro life. If they're a Republican they'll be, wait, hold on, I got that mixed up. If they're a Democrat, they'll be pro-choice. If they're a Republican, they'll be pro-life. And eventually, they won't even know while they're doing it. They'll just say, "Oh, this," and they'll start arguing over useless things like, "Oh, is it like in the case of abortion, is it a human or what?" It's a useless argument and it doesn't get anywhere. It makes no sense. Why does it matter if it's a human being or not? I'm more focused on like safe sex and like the consequences of your action. If you have unprotected sex and you have a baby, I I think I like you have to address the problems of that, and that's why I it took so long for me to get my stance on abortion because you have be because oh, sorry, there's an ant crawling on me. I don't they're everywhere, man. Um because it you're spending time arguing over useless things. You're not focusing on the real issue. Um and that's a huge problem. People are just being distracted and they aren't focusing on the real issue, which is very weird. All, honestly, me personally, I think politics is just like politics and like political hospitality. It's just dead. Honestly, politics is probably worse than it's ever been right now. I mean, just look at Congress. I mean, half of them should be in jail. Half of them probably were at some point in time. But that like Congress needs to be locked up. There's that Supreme Court member that was like, "What's a woman?" or "I'm not a biologist. I don't know what a woman is." And just like it's just insane. Politics is the worst it's ever been, and people are being radicalized nonstop, and it's really not gonna stop, which is sad. I just wanted to quickly, talk about this because I'm very like passionate about this, and I really do want to have like a America where we can talk about things and talk about people, and talk about like politics. But I just want to get your thoughts on this because I think it's a pretty interesting topic. Sorry if my mic is a bit off. I got a lot of this stuff at like Five Below or whatever. I know I am very young, so I definitely have a lot to learn, but I am very knowledgeable on the subject. It's something I'm very passionate about, politics, because it is the fate of our world. So, I just wanted to talk, and I hope everybody has a good day. I know my room is a bit messy, but I'll try to get that cleaned up. Man, you should see the bottom of this. It's insane. Like Legos and stuff everywhere. But have a good day and goodbye. If you liked the video, like. If you didn't, dislike. Okay, bye.